Hey guys, so due to popular demand, I decided to do a coloring tutorial of sorts. Doing this on OC basically. First thing I'm doing is, after I'm done inking, I start doing a wash of what my background's going to look like. Nothing phenomenal. I'm just kind of scribbling with the blue brushes. Then I start applying my flat color, or at least starting to. As you can see, there's me scribbling purple down. Then I started putting down my blacks for her armor. And then I get rid of my sketch layer because I forget that sometimes I get distracted by the under sketch that I don't color in the lines completely and fully. Now I start actually blocking the character markings. Here I can never really get right because I'm not really good with picking out browns until I actually start painting them down. But I think I found the right one this time. It's usually supposed to be a darkish brown. And I don't know why I keep TweetDeck up still, especially when I'm doing this. From here, I'm going to try one of my couple methods, and this one is actually having a new layer, set to multiply, and I apply a single color shade. Like, I tried red at first, but I forgot this picture is primarily blue, so I decided to go with blue. And when I'm doing this, what I'm doing is I'm using a really dark blue, and I'm starting to work my way up from shadows to highlights. You want to use this way. You can still learn how to paint without fussing over, shading in the different markings on the character individually. You want to use hard brushes because that creates contrast, and that's what really makes a painting stand out, is when there's color contrast and not, washed out blurs and smudges, because that's totally and completely the wrong way to paint. It's also good to start low contrast for now though, so you can easily correct mistakes in this stage instead of having to worry about eye dropping too much. I'm not really the best at light sources, so don't use me as a reference for shading. Just a method, but not actually how to do it. I'm switching up brush sizes at this point to get the smaller details of the face. I still see it's too dark, so I decide, hey, let's go and try to make it even lighter. You can't see in the video, but there is a bit of contrasting going on. I never know about the shading method. Honestly, it's not the most natural way to do it. The most natural way would be to actually understand, actual colors and, color theory and all that good stuff. But it's quick, it looks decent, and it's easy. And you know, before you get, you know, knee deep in that stuff, you want to start easy and simple. At this point I make a add layer in OC, which is about the same as using the dodge layer. And I know most people will tell you, and it's true, that dodge and burn is bad, the devil, and it's evil, and so on. This is true, especially if you're working in incredibly saturated colors. But right here, what I'm doing is I'm working in very dark, semi-saturated colors, so that way I have control over how bright I can make my work. Like with the orange I'm picking like a mid-orange to bring out the lightness, and not some crazy perfect orange, because that's just going to make it look horrible. So work dark and bring yourself up. Like I made the ear fluff way too bright and it looks really unnatural for fur at least. Doing the armor now. I'm kind of picky and fussy about the armor. Because I mean, yeah, it's plate armor, but you know, I don't want it to look bad either. Start doing in some strands of hair, but then I decided to go bigger so it doesn't look really bad. Because I don't know if you've noticed a lot of people who will shade each individual tuft of fur on a character. It looks really bad sometimes. I mean, some people can pull it off, but it just gets really distracting, and you lose the sense of detail in their pieces because they're so focused on meticulously shading the fur. I forgot to do the orange gums, because she is doing a snarly face that I referenced off a photo of an actual German Shepherd. I start to do, you know, the whole lichy eye glow, but I decided it doesn't look good. From there I start to clean up my mistakes. Halfway through I forgot, oops, I'm doing this on the dodge layer, so let me go back and correct that by actually like getting rid of the dodge shading I'm doing. Because when you use white and dodge, it turns everything white. So I'm going back to actually erase my extra blues. You want to stay neat in this process still. If not, you have a really muddy looking background, like I already do, but keep it simple. Avoid using hard brushes also, just because like you might accidentally like snip off just a little bit of the hair and then it looks bad. But from here I decide I'm gonna add some lighting effects. You can still play around with the dodge layer like I'm about to do. I'm adding bits of blue, a nice saturated, fairly bright blue, and I'm adding places that, you know, may or may not be affected by light. And then from there I start working my shades down, so that way you can still get that natural sense of, oh, there's blue lighting in here and things are getting tinted blue from the light, but your eyes aren't screwed because it's too bright, too saturated, or just looks bad in general. I'm using the black, a dark blue or a black to go over my dodge layer, so I can still keep the blues. And I think about this point I'm actually done. Hypercam doesn't exactly like me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up Photoshop to do a little bit of image doctoring. So open up the image, get your file. My desktop is cluttered. Then from there I will mess with the levels, which is a fancy way of doing brightness and contrast. The furthest one you're sliding down is how bright it is. Like you see how much brighter it got. The middle one is your midtones, and the furthest one to the left is your shadows. So usually you'll just play around with it just to get a good equilibrium of what you want. And right here I'm just checking to see if it's got the brightness and contrast balance that I want, because I don't want to lose my midtones when I bump up the shading and highlights. And then from there I use the color balance tool which affects, how much color value is in your shadows, midtones, and highlights. I'm using cyan for my highlights, and I'm using blue for my shadows, and yellows for my midtones for some reason. From there, that's pretty much it. That's one of the ways I